from he wasn't a studio, but his secured bunker.
Is everyone in a secured bunker today?
Well, especially with what's going on in the world, that's where I'd like to be. Maybe I'm in a secured bunker and everybody else is out roaming the streets of St. Louis. Tony Messenger, STLtoday.com, Post-Dispatch columnist, contributor here to the Big 550 KHRS. Good morning, Tony.
You know, like you, McGraw, I'm hiding from Joe from South County.
That's exactly right.
I don't know what you have against Joe, but you made him angry, and so I wasn't able to make it to the office.
All right, fair enough. All right, do we like the way Eric Greitens handled the news media is calling it a news conference. It wasn't a news conference because he didn't take any questions. It was a speech.
It wasn't really a news conference. You know, a couple of things. I am finding that people's reaction to that, we'll call it a news conference, people saw what they wanted to see in it. It's a little bit of a metaphor for our current political situation, and let me explain. So I wrote a column about the news conference and focused on Greitens' message of faith and forgiveness. And used that to transition to another crime that happened in the same general vicinity 34 years ago, and a gentleman named Eric Clements who's seeking clemency from Governor Nixon right now, and pointed out that if you take Eric Greitens, the governor-elect, at his word at that news conference, he's a man who wants to meet with the mothers of the alleged assailants who held up his wife at gunpoint. He and his wife planned to forgive them. It was a hopeful message if you look at that. And the interesting thing is, so some of the response to my column was, wait a minute. He also said, and this is the response from the more liberal or progressive wing of my readership, they said, wait a minute, you forgot the other thing he said. He said, it's good the police got to him because if they didn't, I was going to do something.
Right.
It was sort of an implication that the governor-elect would have carried out some vigilante justice. Well, I ignored that because I was more moved by the message of forgiveness, and I want to talk to the mothers. And to the extent that you could read anything into the news conference, I sensed sincerity there from the governor-elect. And that's what I chose to write about. But a lot of people were very upset about the other part of the message, which was sort of traditional law and order and, vigilante justice. So the irony is, so I write the column, I focus on the forgiveness and the faith, and I hear from some of my regular right-wing readers who just see Eric Greitens and Tony Messenger and assume I'm criticizing him. And so people see what they want to see today. And my message to the governor-elect would be, this is why you answer questions. Because he did give mixed messages at that event in which he talked about both law and order and faith and forgiveness. And frankly, there's room in our justice system for both of those concepts. And listening to somebody who is a Rhodes Scholar like the governor-elect explain himself and offer some depth for those answers could provide some real meaning and leadership to our very divided political world right now. What I sense is that deep inside the governor-elect is possibly a very complex person who's not going to govern from a place of severe partisanship. But the reaction to the news conference, because of those mixed messages and because of how divided we are, is people read my Wednesday column however they wanted to read it based on their preconceived notions of either myself and my politics or Eric Greitens and his politics.
Well, Tony,
I don't know what the truth is. I don't know what the answer is. I don't know how Eric Greitens is going to govern regarding these issues of criminal justice.
Well, he's an enigma because I don't know if there are a large number of right-to-work, gun-loving Republicans who live in the heart of the Central West End. So he's an enigma in that sense. But I agree with you. This is a larger issue and a larger problem with politicians on both sides of the aisle. they refuse to take questions from anybody. They'll put out a statement, they'll put out a tweet, they'll make a comment or a news conference where they don't take any questions, and then they refuse to answer questions, and the public accepts it. And I'll accept it from my guy, I won't accept it from your guy. That's a dangerous situation where they refuse to answer questions from the public.
It doesn't. I don't think it helps them. But until the reality changes to where people expect more out of all politicians. Here's the problem. We expect more out of those that we disagree with. So if you're somebody who wasn't in the Eric Greitens camp, you're upset that he didn't answer questions. If you're an Eric Greitens person, you're not. You're willing to give him the benefit of the doubt. If you voted for Donald Trump, you don't mind that he may govern by tweet. If you didn't vote for Donald Trump, you sure want him to be accessible. Until we start applying the same sorts of rules as a society to people on both sorts of the sides of the partisan spectrum, then this transparency thing just isn't going to happen in government. And a good example, I'm somebody who voted for Barack Obama, and think Barack Obama was history as a very, very good president, a great president, and yet he was horribly transparent, and I criticized him for that. He was not a transparent at all. Governor Greitens, Democrat in Missouri, for at least a few days, has not been very transparent at all, and the least transparent governor that I've heard. The most difficult governor to cover in terms of.
Tony, brilliant, but we lost you on your cell phone. See that? The minute the man starts talking, somebody got to his cell phone and hacked his cell phone. Tony, we'll let you go. Thanks for checking in. I think if you could hear his point was, say what you want about Obama, he wasn't transparent, Nixon wasn't transparent, and I agree with Tony 300% that you can't have it one way or the other way. If you're upset that Trump didn't hold news conferences and answer questions and be somewhat transparent, then you can't then turn around and say, oh, Donald Trump can do anything he wants. Because when you play by different, when your guy can do no wrong, that's when you have the state of Missouri spending millions of dollars in lawsuits for the correctional facility and not know what's going on. Mm-hmm. Because my guy's in charge, they can do no wrong. Well, guess what? That's when you really need to pay attention and you really need to keep their feet to the fire because, by golly, they'll tell you anything you want to hear. Tony, thanks for checking in. There you go, 828, Big 550, KTR.